Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour, Donald Trump defeats Nikki Haley in high-stakes New Hampshire polls project. Haley vows to fight out.
This race is far from over.
NATO chief welcomes Turkish approval of Sweden's NATO membership bid after 20-month delay. Hungary's approval still needed to enlarge the Western Bloc. UK to continue to degrade Houthis' capability as 24 nations conduct strikes in Yemen. UN chief says de-escalation in Yemen is essential and attacks on ships must end immediately. And in sports, Indian women's team to face Poland in the inaugural edition of the FIH Hockey 5S Women's World Cup in Muscat on Wednesday. Polls close in New Hampshire primary and projections say that former President Donald Trump will win the New Hampshire's GOP primary, defeating Nikki Haley. Now, with this win, Trump has further cemented his hold on the Republican Party. The polls puts Trump ahead with almost 53.5% votes, while Nikki Haley stands at around 45%. However, Trump's last remaining rival in the race, Haley, is not yet ready to concede. Delivering remarks from Concord soon after voting, she said that the race is far from over. She has finished third in the Iowa primary.
New Hampshire is first in the nation. It is not the last in the nation. This race is far from over. There are dozens of states left to go. And now we're the last one standing next to Donald Trump. And today we got close to half of the vote. We still have a ways to go, but we keep moving up.
Opinion polls had earlier put Trump as the clear frontrunner after his commanding win in last week's Iowa caucuses. Economy, immigration, fentanyl crisis are some of the top concerns of the voters in the elections this year. And speaking to reporters ahead of voting, Trump had said that it does not matter if Haley stays through Super Tuesday.
And I don't care if she stays in. Let her do whatever she wants. It doesn't matter. I can just say that there's never been a movement like this. Make America great again. In the history of our country.
All right, DD India correspondent Nick Harper is joining us from New Hampshire in the U.S. Nick, good morning. Now, when we talk of the results, then Trump showed his durable hold on Republican voters in a state that in fact gave him his first major success in the 2016 primary. Help us understand the significance of the results.
Yeah, a hugely significant result this evening, Preeti. I mean, this is a state win for Donald Trump that now really cements his position within the Republican Party, in many ways creating a knockout blow against his rival Nikki Haley. He has done something that no other Republican candidate has done in almost 50 years, winning both Iowa and then New Hampshire a week later, something that hasn't happened since 1976. And it also shows, I think, the significance and the impact that Donald Trump has on the Republican Party. Let's just bear in mind that the Associated Press called the result for Donald Trump within moments of the polls closing at 8 p.m. local time here this evening. Voting had only just finished and many of the votes had nowhere near been tallied. We're still getting those results coming in as I speak at the moment, and yet the projection was that Donald Trump would win and win soundly. That's a huge disappointment for Nikki Haley, who has poured a lot of time, money, resources into New Hampshire, spending many weeks campaigning here, holding many rallies, really feeling that this was her big last chance to prove that she was a viable alternative to Donald Trump, and really relying on the moderate, independent voters here in New Hampshire, in the northeast of the country, to try and rally around her. That obviously hasn't happened this evening, but as we heard from that speech tonight, she intends to stay in the race. She even told supporters at that rally that she is just getting started. She intends to stay into Nevada, the next primary, and then South Carolina at the end of next month, and then heading into Super Tuesday at the beginning of March.
All right, yes. She also said that this is the first state and not the last one. Just a while back, we heard her say that. Now, Nick, also tell us what is the road ahead for Nikki? What is the saving grace that she is still holding on to?
Well, she still thinks that she can be that alternative for Donald Trump, for all of the disaffected Republican voters or the independents out there who don't want to support the Democratic president, Joe Biden. She feels that she can be that alternative. She told supporters at that rally tonight that the country, the US, is in a real mess and that it needs to break with the past. So not another Trump presidency, not another Biden presidency, but instead she hopes Nikki Haley presidency. Now, that seems very difficult to try and muster, considering these now 2 losses in Iowa and New Hampshire. We'll have to wait to see when the final votes are tallied to see exactly how big that loss is. If it is considerable, there will be some very big questions that will need to be asked about how long Nikki Haley stays in the race. Donald Trump has been calling tonight for her to drop out, saying that the Republican Party now needs to unite, to unify around him, and do all that it can in the next 9.5 months until November's election to take on President Biden to ensure that the Republicans re-enter the White House after November's election.
All right, Nick, 2 losses, Iowa and New Hampshire for Nikki means 2 wins for Trump. Now, we know that no Republican candidate has ever won the 2 states and then not ultimately securing the presidential nomination. How strongly is Trump positioned?
Well, he feels it's sewn up. His team have said throughout that they feel by the time we're through with Super Tuesday on March the 5th, it will be very, very clear that Donald Trump is going to be the nominee of this party. The fact that he is now down to just one main challenger, Nikki Haley, at this very early stage in the primary contest, only 2 states out of the 50 across the US have so far said which person they want leading the Republican Party, but already only one challenger, and it being very clear that the voters in these 2 states so far have overwhelmingly backed Donald Trump as opposed to his alternative, Nikki Haley. He is in a very strong position, and in many ways his campaign say it is now inevitable that he will become the nominee, and that's why they're calling Nikki Haley to drop out so that the party can unify and push back against the Biden presidency.
All right, we leave it here. Thank you, Nick, for joining in with those details and analysis. And still with updates from the US, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris held an abortion rights rally in Virginia on Tuesday. But Biden was repeatedly interrupted by protesters opposed to his support for Israel in its war with Hamas in Gaza. Demonstrators shouting, "Genocide Joe has to go," interrupted the Democrat at least 10 times during the rally in Virginia, his first campaign event of 2024. Joe Biden, in addition to focusing on abortion, has cast Trump as a would-be dictator and a threat to democracy. Turkey's parliament approved Sweden's NATO membership bid on Tuesday following more than 4 hours of debate. Lawmakers voted 287 in favor and 55 against, clearing a last major hurdle to expanding of the Western military alliance after 20 months of delays. Erdogan will sign the bill into law, likely in the coming days. Hungary remains the only NATO member yet to ratify Stockholm's accession. President Erdogan's ruling AK party, its nationalist MHP allies, and the main opposition CHP voted in favor of the bid in the General Assembly, while opposition, nationalist, Islamist and leftist parties voted against it. The United States and the United Kingdom carried out additional strikes on Monday against 8 targets in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen. In a joint statement, the UK said the strikes were carried out with support of 24 countries, including Australia, Germany, Bahrain, Canada and the Netherlands. The UK Prime Minister's office further said that these strikes were designed to disrupt and degrade the capability of the Houthis to continue to attack. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said that initial evidence from Monday's strike showed all intended targets were destroyed. The Pentagon also said that over 25 Houthi missile launch facilities and more than 20 missiles in Yemen have been destroyed so far. Meanwhile, the UK is planning fresh sanctions against Houthis post-strikes. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has also tried to de-link what's been happening in the Red Sea with Israel-Hamas conflict. The Houthis surely don't see it that way. Where are these hostilities going? DD India correspondent Sarah Coates tells us more from Tel Aviv.
We are going to use the most effective means at our disposal to cut off the Houthis' financial resources where they are used to fund these attacks. We are working closely with the United States on this and plan to announce new sanction measures in the coming days.
Of course, there is a lot of fear that this could cause a wider spillover, a wider escalation in the Middle East. We've heard from Britain's Foreign Secretary, Lord Cameron. He has addressed this latest round of strikes, saying that he is confident they've been effective on the Houthis, adding that their narrative on these strikes being related to this war inside the Gaza Strip should not be accepted. Now, we did hear also from the United States pretty stern words late last week. They said that it has other options if these attacks do continue on this major shipping lane there in the Red Sea, but failed to elaborate any further as to what these other options could be.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has urged countries to avoid an escalation in the situation in the Red Sea, where Houthis in Yemen have been attacking commercial vessels amid the ongoing conflict in Gaza. In a statement, the Secretary General said, and I quote him, "The situation in the Red Sea is also deeply worrying. Houthi attacks are disrupting global trade. These have been followed by airstrikes by the US and the UK on Houthi positions in Yemen. De-escalation is essential, and all attacks on merchant and commercial vessels in the Red Sea must cease immediately." The risks of broader regional escalation are now becoming a reality. Turning to the north, Israeli government spokesperson Eylon Levy said that Israel will not agree to a ceasefire deal with Hamas. He added that efforts were ongoing to bring about the release of the hostages, but declined to elaborate, saying lives were hanging in the balance.
The goals of this war, as laid out by the War Cabinet after the October 7th massacre and handed down to the IDF, remain unchanged: the destruction of Hamas's governing and military capabilities in the Gaza Strip and the return of all the hostages. There will be no ceasefire that leaves the hostages in Gaza and Hamas in power. Beyond that, we have nothing to elaborate.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Tuesday that Israel would push on the fighting in Gaza until absolute victory, despite suffering one of its toughest days of military offensive. He said the military was investigating the tragedy in which 21 soldiers were killed when buildings exploded in central Gaza, bringing the single-day Israeli death toll to 24. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres appealed for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. On Tuesday, the UN chief said that humanitarian situation in the Palestinian enclave was appalling, and that the people of Gaza not only risk being killed or injured by relentless bombardments, they also run a growing chance of contracting infectious diseases like hepatitis A, dysentery and cholera. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres welcomed the foreign ministers attending the meeting of the United Nations Security Council at the UN headquarters in New York. The UNSC met on January 23rd to discuss the situation in the Middle East, particularly the Israel-Hamas conflict. U.S. Middle East envoy Brett McGurk traveled in the region for active discussions on ensuring the release of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza and securing a humanitarian pause. White House spokesperson John Kirby said the U.S. would support a longer humanitarian pause in combat in Gaza to ensure hostages could be released and aid brought in. British Foreign Secretary David Cameron will travel to Israel on Wednesday, where he's expected to raise concerns over Israel and Gaza conflict. Cameron's trip, which will include visits to the West Bank, Qatar and Turkey, is his third to the Middle East in just over 2 months. We're heading for a short break. You're watching DD India News Hour, but after the break, U.S. Coast Guard rescues fishermen in ice blast. Then easy records 27 deaths from the Arctic blast. Benito giraffe travels 50 hours to be relocated from northern Mexico to the African Safari Wildlife Park in Pueblo.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back after the break. A body cam video captured the dramatic rescue of a child trapped in a frozen pond in Jonesboro, Arkansas. And from here, we now turn focus to Russia-Ukraine war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russian missiles hit Ukraine's two largest cities, killing 18 people and injuring more than 130. The wave of Russian missiles hit Ukraine's two largest cities on Tuesday. There were strikes on Kyiv and in central Ukraine and the southern region of Kherson, subject to constant shelling. More than 200 sites were hit, including 139 dwellings, with many deaths in an ordinary high-rise apartment building. Ordinary people lived there, he said. Kharkiv Regional Governor Oleh Senubov said more than 100 high-rise blocks had been damaged in the first two attacks. There were 3 hits in the evening on an apartment block and other infrastructure.
Regarding the Russian attack in the morning, almost 40 missiles of different types, another combined strike to try and bypass our air defense system. A significant portion of missiles were shot down. Unfortunately, there are hits. More than 200 different objects were damaged. 139 houses only, ordinary houses. 130 people were injured or traumatized. All of them are provided with the necessary assistance. Unfortunately, 18 people lost their lives. My condolences to the family and friends. And this number of dead may still increase. In particular, a rescue operation is still ongoing in Kharkiv. The rubble of the building is being searched. An ordinary high-rise building, ordinary people live there.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen reassured Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal on Tuesday that the Biden administration was committed to securing an $11.8 billion in budget support to Kyiv as part of a supplemental U.S. funding request. In the statement, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said that providing financial support to Ukraine will help Ukraine win the war and advance U.S. national security interests globally. Yellen added that it also demonstrates the resolve of the U.S. and its allies to defend the territorial sovereignty and freedom of democratic countries. Luxembourg's Foreign Minister Xavier Bettel said it will be hard to get Hungary to back more financial aid to Ukraine at a European Union summit next week on Tuesday. He added that Ukraine needed both military and financial assistance.
When you blackmail, in fact, the other 26, it's difficult. I know Viktor Orban well. I know him by knowing that it won't be easy to convince him. We had a difficult agreement last time, I'm right. And what is not good is that from the outside, it was considered for some people like a deal.
Germany's finance minister, Christian Lindner, has said that the country cannot keep up Ukraine's defense capabilities on its own in the long term and that others will need to increase bilateral contributions on Tuesday. He added Germany's efforts to assist Ukraine cannot be attributed to others doing less, calling instead for a fair burden sharing of costs at the EU level. The minister viewed Ukraine as ready for EU membership and in line with EU values, but added that there were still reforms that needed to be made for private sector investment to take off. Atomic scientists on Tuesday kept their doomsday clock set precariously close to midnight, citing Russia's actions on nuclear weapons amid its invasion of Ukraine, nuclear-armed Israel's Gaza war, and worsening climate change as factors driving the risk of global catastrophe. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, founded in 1945 by scientists including Albert Einstein and J. Robert Oppenheimer, had set the clock last year at 90 seconds to midnight, the theoretical point of annihilation.
Last year, we expressed amplified concern by moving the clock to 90 seconds to midnight, the closest to global catastrophe it has ever been. The risks of last year continue with unabated ferocity and continue to shape this year. Today, we once again set the doomsday clock to express a continuing and unprecedented level of risk. It is 90 seconds to midnight. 90 seconds to midnight is profoundly unstable and must not engender complacency. And two, the advancement of technology is quickening and outpacing our ability to govern them.
In the bulletin, the scientists said on Tuesday that ominous trends continue to point towards a catastrophe amidst the fact that China, Russia and the United States all are spending large amount of money to expand and upgrade their nuclear arsenals, boosting the risk of nuclear war through mistake or miscalculation. Climate change was added as a factor in setting the clock in 2007.
There's been a fair amount of bad news for sure, but there's also some good news. I think, as already mentioned, 2023 was the hottest year on record, and a range of extreme events across the world made more likely by climate change. Global greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise. Global and North Atlantic sea surface temperatures broke records. Antarctic ice was at lowest levels, and I could go on, but I think one gets the picture.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Tuesday pledged $45 million in additional financing to help fight conflict and bring stability to coastal West Africa. Blinken is on the second stop of a four-nation tour of Africa, taking him to Cape Verde, Ivory Coast, Nigeria and Angola from January 21st to 26th. Blinken, who is visiting Nigeria as part of an Africa tour to strengthen bilateral relations, said the U.S. will continue to support Nigeria and other regional partners. Blinken also discussed challenges to democracy and security in the region during his meeting with Nigerian President Bola Tinubu in the visit that comes after last year's coup in neighboring Niger.
On security, which we also discussed at some length, the United States is determined to be and remain a strong security partner for Nigeria. I want to extend the condolences of the American people to all Nigerians who were affected by the horrific attacks over the Christmas weekend. We mourn their loss and all killed in recent attacks, including, by the way, staff from our United States mission, locally employed staff and 4 police officers who were killed in Anambra last May. As I told the President and the Foreign Minister, the United States will support Nigeria as it works to bring about a more secure, a more peaceful and a more prosperous future for its people.
Over 100 Guatemalan migrants deported by the U.S. arrived at Guatemala City on Tuesday. The deported migrants, including 17 families and single adults, arrived at Aurora Airport in Guatemala City on a flight chartered by the U.S. government. This latest group of deportees is part of increased deportations involving migrants from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Colombia and Venezuela. Many migrants in the United States flee their home countries due to economic hardship, violence and political instability. Venezuelan opposition candidate Maria Corina Machado announced an alliance with political parties and civil society organizations that will help organize her campaign to challenge President Nicolas Maduro. Machado also called on authorities to reveal the exact date of the presidential elections. An agreement between the opposition and Maduro's government signed in Barbados in 2023 said elections would take place in the second half of the year. The campaign has not formally begun and Maduro is yet to officially announce a bid for re-election. Machado is currently barred from holding public office, calling the ban unfair. Machado has appealed against the decision, but the Supreme Court is yet to decide. Hundreds of supporters of Venezuela's ruling Socialist Party took to the streets of Caracas in a rally to mark the end of a military dictatorship in the South American nation. Venezuelans typically take to the streets on January 23rd to mark the end of the rule by military dictator Marcos Pérez Jiménez 66 years ago. The march was largely attended by supporters of President Maduro, taking place near the gathering of opposition supporters. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break. Stay with us.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times. We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
The gateway to northeast India welcomes you to the land of untouched natural beauty and diverse history.
Welcome back after the break. A quick relook at the top stories once again. Donald Trump defeats Haley in high-stakes New Hampshire polls project. Trump moves closer to White House nomination. NATO chief welcomes Turkish approval of Sweden's NATO membership bid after 20-month delay. Hungary's approval still needed to enlarge the Western bloc. UK to continue to degrade Houthis' capability as 20 nations conduct strikes in Yemen. UN chief says de-escalation in Yemen is essential and attack on ships must end immediately. And in sports, Indian women's team to face Poland in the inaugural edition of the FIH Hockey 5S Women's World Cup in Muscat on Wednesday. On the second day after the Pran Pratishtha ceremony in the Indian holy city of Ayodhya, devotees gathered in huge numbers at Rampath to offer prayers to Lord Sri Ram. Around 1,000 Rapid Action Force Jawans have been deployed inside and outside of the temple to make sure that devotees did not face any difficulty. Karpuri Thakur, the former Chief Minister of India's Bihar state, will be posthumously awarded Bharat Ratna, the highest civilian award of India. He served as the Chief Minister of Bihar from 1970 to 1971 and later 1977 to 1979. He passed away on February 17, 1988. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in a post on X, mentioned about Thakur's unwavering commitment to uplift the downtrodden and his visionary leadership that have left an indelible mark on India's socio-political fabric. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar concluded his Nigeria visit with an address to the Nigeria-India Business Council. The minister said that investment and trade are at the heart of partnership between the two countries. The minister further pushed for taking ties to a higher level. The event was attended by Nigeria's Ministers of Trade, Budget and Economic Planning, Blue Economy and Steel Development, and the Governor of Nasarawa.
Africa is rising, and India is betting on Africa's rise. We are betting on Africa's rise because by any objective assessment, today there is so much going for Africa in terms of demography, in terms of resources, in terms of ambition, in terms of increasingly of policy alignments that clearly portend a very different, a much more positive future in the very short term. For us, the reordering of the world, the rebalancing, the multipolarity of the world will not be complete until Africa takes its due place.
And it's been 25 years of India and France's strategic relationship, spanning across sectors including defense, energy, civil aviation and space. As the French president arrives in India, Jessica Taneja decodes the Indo-Franco relations.
Invisible reach and instant kill. These Rafale jets with their 150-kilometer strike range can neutralize threats before they even blink. The French-supplied fighter jets enhance India's capability for a two-front war. For decades, France has been India's strategic partner beyond headlines and stealth defense. In May 1998, France defied pressure from its Western partners to fuel India's nuclear dreams, avoided Western sanctions, and even supplied uranium for India's first nuclear power plant. It even refrained from commenting on India's internal affairs.
I thank President Chirac for displaying better understanding of India's position on the question of nuclear test. his stand that economic sanctions will not help has proved to be true.
J'ai été heureux de constater que l'Inde était ouverte à toute solution conforme à ses intérêts, naturellement, et à son rang, et qui permettrait de permettre la non-prolifération dans le monde.
Whether it's former President Jacques Chirac or François Hollande, the enduring strategic partnership between France and India continues to gain momentum based on shared values and aspirations.
3.
From building Gaganyaan's astronaut haven and tracking oil spills to launching satellites.
3, 2, 1, top.
France has been actively supporting India's space ambitions since 43 years. Beyond defense and space cooperation, the Indo-Pacific region takes center stage. French overseas territories generating 93% of its exclusive economic zone provide a strategic vantage point. France and India leverage this unique geopolitical position to assert their positions on global issues such as multilateralism, protection of the global commons, and freedom of navigation. Notably, France was the first country outside India's immediate neighborhood to conduct coordinated naval patrols in the Indian Ocean. Even though both nations commit to working together to ensure that there is no imbalance in the Indo-Pacific and navigate multipolarity together, the driving force of the Indo-Franco relations is in the sovereign realm of strategy and security, where the state's role is greater than the economy. Jessica Taneja for DD India.
The Indian government's outreach program Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra is seeing popular engagement by the people across India. The Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra has now reached India's Rajasthan. People participated enthusiastically in the camp organized at Hanumangarh district of Rajasthan. Common people who have benefited from the welfare schemes expressed their gratitude to the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. And also, Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra is being conducted in various parts of Mizoram. The events were held in Bhuarpui, Lungli district and Songrasuri and Borapansuri in Luang Thalai district. Additionally, Dampui, Membong and Haryangmuna hosted the Yatra activities today. Various departments explained the central government's initiatives and also benefits for the people in agriculture, financial inclusion and health sector. Schemes in agriculture department included Pradhan Mantri Kisan Man Dhan Yojana and Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana. While health and family welfare covered Ayushman Bharat benefits, PM Jan Arogya Yojana, that is the health insurance, PM Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana, among others. The Indian toy industry witnessed remarkable growth in the financial year 2022-23 in comparison to 2014-15. Now, this was seen with a decline in imports by 52% and rise in exports by 239%. The report, Success Story of Made in India Toys by the Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow, and India's Commercial Ministry highlighted that in a span of 6 years, the number of manufacturing units has doubled, reducing imports from 33% to just 12%, with an overall rise in labor productivity. The report also stated that the government efforts have enabled the creation of a more conducive manufacturing ecosystem for the Indian toy industry. It emphasized that India is emerging as a top exporting nation due to the country's integration into the global toy value chain. India is on a path to become the world's largest producer of lentils in the crop year 2023-24. The projected output this year is around 1.6 million tons. If the projection comes true, the country's lentil output would be the highest since the 2017-18 crop year, which was 1.62 million tons. The government is aiming to make India self-sufficient in pulses by December 2027. India is a big importer of the crop. The agricultural crop year in India is from July to June. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. Indian Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan congratulated the 60 Para Field Hospital of Indian Army on Tuesday for being awarded the prestigious Subhash Chandra Bose Apada Prabandhan Puraskar 2024 for their exceptional work done in disaster management. North India's Jammu and Kashmir Academy of Art, Culture and Languages organised a patriotic musical concert at Tagore Hall in Srinagar on Tuesday. Many renowned artists performed at the concert. A special divine book hamper has been introduced by India's Chennai book publisher on the occasion of Ram Temple Pran Pratishtha to learn about Lord Ram. The book hamper has a specially crafted kit containing 20 essential items and books in illustrated form as a wallpaper, along with a tic-tac-toe game. Vandiyur Mariamam Tepakulam temple is lit up with colourful lights ahead of the annual float festival in the temple town of India, Madurai. The float festival is celebrated annually during the month of January and February by the people of the region with great enthusiasm. We're heading for a short break. You're watching DD India News Hour, but after the break, while Italy's Yannick Sinner sets up a semi-final clash against Novak Djokovic, Aryna Sabalenka overpowered Barbora Krejcikova. This and more from the Australian Open ahead.
A confluence of spirituality, knowledge and culture. The progenitor of democracy, Bihar holds a special place in India's history. Treasure the journey of enlightenment. Travel the holy circuit trails of multiple faiths. Experience the legacy of ancient India. And an educational lineage that produced some of the greatest luminaries of the time. Discover a multitude of art and craft forms. Savor the true flavors of the land and enjoy the sights and sounds of iconic festivals. Delve deeper into the natural beauty of this land, enriched by the sacred river Ganga. Today, Bihar's infrastructure is at the heart of its transformation. Poised to take a big leap with initiatives in agriculture, education, tourism, and information technology. An ode to a remarkable history. Bihar truly offers a glimpse into a captivating past and vibrant present. Welcome to Bihar.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times. In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, one app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world, one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and
Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get you updates from the world of business now. Asian markets opened on a cautious note and traded lower on Wednesday in the wake of mixed trends on Wall Street overnight and as investors gauged key economic data from Japan. Japan's Nikkei fell 0.26%, while the Topix declined 0.15%. South Korea's Kospi dropped 0.43% and Kosdaq dipped 1.35%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng futures, however, indicated a stronger opening. Now all eyes are on the Indian indices, which slipped significantly yesterday, though it opened on a positive note. The Nifty and Sensex both slipped over 1% each to end at 21,238.8 points and 70,370.55 at Tuesday's closing bells. German train drivers began the longest strike in the nation's modern history. That will last until Monday, affecting both freight and passenger transport services in the country. The strike is the latest in a series of walkouts over working hours, conditions and pay. Industry experts have estimated that the strike will cost Europe's biggest economy up to $110 million per day and warned of the reputational damage to German business. The GDL trade union, which includes train drivers and other rail workers, has said that it was forced into the strike after bosses at the national rail operator tried to trick the workers over their demands for improved pay and conditions. The Bank of Japan has decided not to take any action at its first policy meeting of the year, as was widely expected. But the market is now paying attention to a more positive tone on the wage and inflation outlook, as well as an upgrade to the financial year 2024 inflation outlook, which forms the groundwork for policy normalization. We see a slightly higher chance of a first hike taking place in June than in April. Meanwhile, speculation persists about if and when the Bank of Japan will adjust its monetary policy the next time. Inflation-weary Cubans are gearing up for a new wave of inflation after the government last week rolled out details of an austerity plan that economists say will touch nearly every facet of Cuba's already struggling economy. Prime Minister Manuel Marrero claims that the actions, which include raising taxes as well as cutting subsidies, will stem a spiraling budget deficit that is expected to surpass 18% of GDP and pave the way for growth. Government officials have announced wholesale fuel prices will double next month. Freight transportation will jump between 40% and 60% in March. Let's get you updates from the world of sports now. In hockey, Indian women's team will face Poland in the inaugural edition of the FIH Hockey 5S Women's World Cup in Muscat. The Indian team is led by experienced goalkeeper Rashni Ethimarpu, while defender Mahima Chaudhary is the vice captain. The Indian women's team is included in Pool C alongside US and America. In fact, US, Poland and Namibia. The Netherlands, Malaysia, Fiji and hosts Oman are in Pool A, while Australia, South Africa, Ukraine and Namibia form Pool B. Group D consists of New Zealand, Uruguay, Thailand and Paraguay. World Cup will take place from 24th to 27th of January. The Indian men's hockey team will take on France in the four-nation tournament in Cape Town city of South Africa on Wednesday. The week-long tournament features France, the Netherlands, India and hosts South Africa. In the earlier match, India thrashed France 4-0 as Harmanpreet Singh scored a brace. Lalit Upadhyay and vice-captain Hardik Singh also scored 1 goal each. India will play hosts South Africa on 26th of January and finish the tour with a match against Netherlands on 28th. From hockey to tennis now, Indian tennis veteran Rohan Bopanna and his Australian partner Matthew Ebden stormed into the semi-finals of the men's doubles at the Australian Open. The duo breezed past the 6-seeded Argentine duo of Maximo Gonzalez and Andre Molteni in the quarterfinals to secure 6-4, 7-6 win. Bopanna and Ebden, seeded second in the draw, displayed remarkable resilience to seal the victory in 2 sets. In the Australian Open, Italy's Yannick Sinner has set up a mouth-watering semi-final clash against Novak Djokovic as he fought off Andrei Rublev in the late-night duel in the quarterfinals. Now, the fourth seed showed patience and resilience to claim a 6-4, 7-6, 5, 6-3 win against the Russian, who now owns the ugly record of 10 defeats out of 10 in Grand Slam quarterfinals. Fifth seed Rublev threw the kitchen sink in his opponent, but was left with the same old sinking feeling as he consistently failed to take his chances, especially when the leading second set tiebreak 5-1. Aryna Sabalenka overpowered Barbora Krejcikova 6-2, 6-3 in a quarterfinal to keep her Australian Open title defense firmly on course. She had set up a showdown with US Open champion Coco Gauff in the semi-final. The meeting between Sabalenka and Gauff could go a long way towards deciding who takes home the trophy. Diana Yastremiska beat Czech Lena Noskova 6-3, 6-4 to book a semi-final spot at the Australian Open, becoming the first qualifier to reach the last four since 1978. The Ukrainian's powerful forehand eventually overcame the 19-year-old Czech, who was the youngest player left in the women's draw. A flagship program of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, the Fit India Mission, is all set to launch the Fit India Champions podcast series. It is being launched in partnership with GOQI, the major stakeholder in the fitness sector that proactively manages health through its digital and multimedia technology. The series will showcase remarkable accomplishments and inspiring stories of India's sporting heroes. The episodes start from January 27th. The sensational armless archer, Sheetal Devi, who took the 2023 Asian Para Games in Hangzhou by storm with a gold-winning feat on debut, will feature in the opening episode. World and economic javelin champion Neeraj Chopra, who will be number 2 in this enviable list of speakers, has revealed unknown sides from his professional career and the twists and turns in his life as a youngster. 24th of January is celebrated as International Day of Education. Education is UNESCO's top priority because it is a basic human right and the foundation for peace and sustainable development. TD India's correspondent Kriti Vadera reports.
Education is a human right, a powerful driver of development and one of the strongest instruments for reducing poverty, gender equality, peace and stability. The new Education Policy 2020 aims at more dynamic and responsive education system.
The new National Education Policy 2020 and now the NCFSE 23 that has come in is one of the most promising visions that have ever come into the education. Gone are the days when you would tell the children that this is the syllabus, study this, these are the questions which will be asked, and this is how you have to answer. Today, the canvas of the child has expanded. He can creatively think and answer what he wants to, and the children are brighter than us. The child has become very important. The teacher has taken a back seat because these children are born with the technology. They are the natives of technology. We are the migrants. But they are the natives of technology and they know how to leverage and how to use the technology.
India is appearing as a global leader in ICT. Educational technology plays an important role in the improvement of educational processes and outcomes. Young minds are growing confidence while using digital gadgets in classrooms.
I like to come to digital literacy class. I love to play with iPads, and digital literacy class is good.
Educators find it convenient to integrate digital devices into the teaching and learning process.
The integration of technology helps us to create an aha moment in our class. It's a kind of joyful learning. The students learn a lot because once they do the thing, it is learning by doing when we come to the technology. And as people are born in the technology era, they are born with iPads.
It is more interactive for the kids. Like with the display, with the digital display, they are very much engaged with the subject and the content.
NEP 2020 is a comprehensive framework and outlining of India's vision and approach to education reform. Comprehensive approach of New Education Policy 2020 has revamped the education system in India, emphasizing flexibility, creativity, and giving it a holistic approach towards learning. With camera person Rajesh Kumar, I'm Kruti Vadhera, reporting from New Delhi for DD India.
All right, with that, we end this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.